Welcome all. A return to international football is very much on the horizon, and from a Scotland point of view, three important World Cup qualifiers, obviously on the back of that historic chance to compete finally at the major championships with the Euros not far away and England in Scotland's group. Before then, it's the small matter of Austria at home, Israel away, and then the Faroes back in Glasgow, all in the space of a week or little more. So to look forward to those, let me introduce you, such as he needs any introduction, to obviously Rangers and Scotland legend David Weir. Davey, three big games, obviously, for Scotland and Steve Clarke, with, I would imagine, confidence at a real high after the brilliant achievements.
Exactly. It's weird timing, isn't it? Before the Euros, you're already back into another set of qualifiers, and there's a bit of a strange feeling around that, as there is with most football games at the minute, but a real opportunity for players to make a mark and get the campaign for the next tournament up and running. And, they've got a taste of what it feels like to qualify, which I think is great. And there'll be tough games against some familiar opposition, some less familiar. And again, a real challenge and also an opportunity for these players to put down their markers to be involved in the Euros in the summer, which I think a lot of players will be thinking about and looking forward to.
Yeah. Austria first up of the three, at home, which I guess helps, even though it would be ideally with fans back. That's obviously not going to happen until a little later in the year. But Austria, I think, a team that are slightly back on the front foot after a few years in the relative wilderness. You think of David Alaba, obviously, at Bayern Munich, and Marcel Sabitzer at Leipzig and one or two others. They've got some quality.
They have. And these European games and the European teams, without being too cliched, they're all difficult. And the quality of the player you've mentioned, plus others, is going to make them a tough proposition. But Scotland now are in the case where they've also got players who teams will look at and think they're not bad. That team's not bad. That team's used to winning, qualifying and stuff. So it'll boil down to who does it on the day. And unfortunately, as you said, it won't be a full Hampden with the crowd back in Scotland. You can imagine what that would be like after having just qualified for the Euros. So that would be a great occasion. Unfortunately, that won't be something that will be there. But the players will be used to be playing in empty stadiums now, and have had some good success with it as well. So long may that continue. But yeah, it'll be a tough game undoubtedly, and as all internationals are, and step by step. But a good start is always very important in the campaign.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Israel second up, a team that Scotland know really well in recent times. It's funny how these things sometimes crop up, and Israel obviously equally will know Scotland very well. Sometimes that makes for a slightly blank kind of game, but actually the way the two teams play, I doubt that'll happen somehow.
No, I agree. And there's also an element of competition between those teams. Obviously, Scotland having come out on top and stopping Israel qualifying, I think that'll definitely be at the forefront of their mind. I think there'll be an element of that in the game and in the campaign, which Scotland will need to rise to that challenge. But every international game is a challenge, and every international game is an opportunity. And I mean, there's no greater opportunity than getting to a World Cup, which is the pinnacle of any player's career. And Scotland have whetted the appetite with the campaign to get to the Euros. So the next step is now to get back to the World Cup, and this is the beginning of that, and this is the the games that are going to count further down the line to give us a great opportunity of doing that.
Yeah, Faroes, the third game, you would hope an opportunity with respect to bag some points there. Certainly the home game. Do you think when you look at Scotland and the way Steve Clarke's found a system and a set of players that work quite cohesively together, is there enough strength in depth? Were one or two, and I'm thinking probably centre forward and one or two props just behind him, were they to be unavailable through injury, suspension, whatever? Is there enough backup?
I think probably centre forward wise, Matt, is the worry in terms of having real numbers and real quality. I think in other positions, particularly in midfield, goalkeeper and positions like that, we have left back, we have lots of options and lots of good quality. But I think probably at the top end of the pitch, although we do have quality, maybe not in the numbers we do in the other positions. So that would be the worry, I think. And there's always time, and there's always an opportunity for somebody to come up with a late run, somebody scoring goals, somebody hitting a bit of form, who can contribute. And I'm sure Steve will be monitoring the leagues and the players just to see who is in form and who maybe can add to the proven players that that have done the good work so far.
Yeah, and of course, all at the moment it feels like without obviously looking too far past World Cup qualifiers, they're important, but it all feels like part of a dreamlike build-up to the summer, fans back, a European Championships, England on the horizon. Blind, what a time to be a Scotland fan. It must be fantastic.
Yeah, it is, and that's the incentive, to be involved in those games, to be part of that. I was fortunate enough to play in a few Scotland-England games, and nothing beats them in the game being at Wembley. We don't know what the situation with fans will be, but any excuse to get down there and watch a game, I think there'll be more than enough Scottish fans that are hoping to do that. So that's the incentive, to get yourself involved in that game and to show that you're capable and trustworthy enough to play in that game, which we know would be massive for everyone. So every international stands on its own 2 feet, but to have that in the background and something to look forward to, I think can only add to the encouragement you need to perform well.